The scorned challenger. The crimson suns of Xerxes Prime cast their eerie glow across the grand arena of champions. 100,000 alien spectators filled the crystalline stands, their voices creating a deafening symphony of clicks, roars, and hisses. This was the day they had waited for, the day the newest species to join the Galactic Federation would prove its worth in combat. Marcus Chen stood in the shadowed entrance tunnel, his heart pounding against his ribs. At 6 feet tall and 200 pounds of lean muscle, he was considered above average for a human. But here, among beings who could crush steel with their mandibles or slice through armor with razor-sharp claws, he felt like a child facing giants. The gravity here was lighter than Earth's, making his movements feel strange. He flexed his fingers inside the thin combat gloves that were all the armor regulations allowed him. No powered suits, no advanced weapons, just flesh, bone, and will. The Galactic Games demanded purity of combat. Presenting the human warrior, Marcus Chen of Earth. The announcer's voice boomed across the arena in 100 languages. Marcus stepped into the light, and the laughter began. From every direction, aliens pointed and jeered. A group of Kravaxians, their purple carapaces gleaming, made exaggerated gestures of weakness. The four-armed Drenathi warriors clicked their mandibles in amusement. Even the usually stoic Xerxian guards seemed to smirk behind their helmets. "Look at its soft skin," shouted a voice from the crowd. "No claws, no armor, no natural weapons. Earth must be desperate to send this weakling." Marcus kept his face neutral, just as he'd been trained. The Federation Council had made it clear. Humanity's entry into galactic society depended on his performance. If he failed, Earth would be relegated to a servant species, our resources harvested, our people used as laborers. Lord Vexthor, the arena master, rose from his ornate throne. His serpentine form towered 20 feet high, scales shifting through shades of gold and black. "Human, you face your first trial. We have chosen a simple opponent for you." The opposite gate opened, and out strutted a Grax warrior. At 9 feet tall with skin like granite and 4 massive arms, it was considered one of the weaker combat species. The crowd's laughter intensified. They were giving him an easy match out of pity. The Grax flexed its muscles, stone-like skin rippling. "I'll make this quick, little one. Try not to cry." Marcus said nothing. He simply walked to the center of the arena, his movements controlled, economical. The betting boards flashed. Odds were 500 to 1 against the human lasting more than 30 seconds. "Begin," Lord Vexthor commanded. The Grax charged like a living avalanche. Marcus stood perfectly still, watching, calculating. At the last possible moment, he sidestepped with liquid grace. The alien's momentum carried it past him, and Marcus struck, a precise blow to what his briefings had identified as a nerve cluster. The Grax stumbled, confused. The crowd's laughter faltered. Marcus moved like water, flowing around the alien's wild swings. Each time the Grax attacked, he wasn't there. Each time it left an opening. He struck with surgical precision. The human wasn't fighting with brute strength. He was dismantling his opponent like a master craftsman. The Grax grew desperate, its attacks becoming sloppy. Marcus caught one of its arms, using the alien's own momentum to flip it over his shoulder. The 9-foot warrior crashed to the ground with enough force to crack the arena floor. Before it could rise, Marcus was on its back. His arms locked around the Grax's thick neck in a hold that targeted its breathing apparatus. The alien thrashed, but Marcus's grip was unbreakable. The arena fell silent. The impossible was happening. With a final wheeze, the Grax went limp. Marcus released it and stood, not even breathing hard. The medical team rushed in, confirming the alien was unconscious but alive. Lord Vexthor leaned forward, his golden eyes narrowing. "Interesting." The crowd erupted, not in cheers, but in angry disbelief. They had come to see the human humiliated, not victorious. "A fluke," someone shouted. The Grax was clearly ill. Give him a real opponent. Marcus returned to his corner, ignoring the jeers. He had studied thousands of combat recordings, analyzed every known alien fighting style. Humans might lack natural weapons, but they had something far more dangerous: the ability to learn, adapt, and exploit weaknesses. Lord Vexthor raised a clawed hand for silence. Very well. If the crowd demands a true test. He gestured to another gate. Release the Kravaxian twins. Gasps echoed through the arena. The Kravaxian twins were veteran gladiators, their synchronized fighting style nearly unbeatable. They emerged like living weapons. Purple exoskeletons gleaming, serrated claws extended, compound eyes glittering with malice. Now we'll see human blood, one twin chittered. We'll paint the sand red, agreed the other. Marcus studied them calmly. Twins meant patterns, coordination, predictable movements. He had trained for this. The bell rang. The twins attacked as one, a whirlwind of claws and chitin. But Marcus had already mapped their attack patterns. He ducked under one strike, redirected another, and suddenly he was inside their guard. His fist connected with the first twin's eye cluster. As it reeled back, he grabbed its arm and swung it into its sibling. The twins collided with a sickening crunch of breaking chitin. The crowd watched in stunned silence as Marcus methodically took apart opponents who had never lost a match. He targeted joints, sensory organs, breathing vents, every weakness the aliens thought hidden. Within minutes, both Kravaxians lay defeated. Marcus stood between them, a thin cut on his cheek, the only sign he'd been in combat. Lord Vexthor's tail lashed in agitation. The human wasn't just winning. He was making their greatest warriors look like amateurs. Enough games, the arena master hissed. Bring out Gorath. The crowd gasped. Gorath was a Drenathi destroyer, a four-armed killing machine who had slaughtered 50 opponents without taking a scratch. Even other champions feared him. The massive gates groaned open. Gorath emerged like a nightmare given form. 12 feet of armored muscle, mandibles dripping venom, 4 arms each capable of tearing steel. Finally, Gorath rumbled, a chance to show what happens to upstart species. Marcus's eyes narrowed. This was different. Gorath had no obvious weaknesses, no patterns to exploit. This would require something more. As Gorath charged, Marcus felt something shift inside him. The careful control he'd maintained began to slip. Images flashed through his mind. His family on Earth, his people's future, the contempt in alien eyes. For the first time, Marcus Chen stopped thinking and started feeling. When Gorath's first blow came, Marcus didn't dodge. He met it head-on, catching the massive fist in both hands. The impact should have shattered his bones. Instead, his muscles bulged, veins standing out like cables as he held the alien's strength at bay. Gorath's compound eyes widened in shock. Impossible. Marcus's lips pulled back in a feral grin. You haven't seen anything yet. With a roar that silenced the entire arena, Marcus twisted and threw Gorath across the sand. The Drenathi crashed into the wall 20 feet away, leaving a crater in the reinforced stone. The crowd stared in disbelief. Humans weren't supposed to have this kind of strength, but they had never seen a human truly angry before. Blood on foreign sand. The arena fell into stunned silence as Gorath pulled himself from the crater in the wall. Chunks of stone fell from his armor-like exoskeleton, and for the first time in his career, the Drenathi destroyer looked uncertain. Marcus stood in the center of the arena, his chest heaving, eyes blazing with an intensity that made nearby spectators flinch. Something had changed in the human warrior. The calculated precision was still there, but now it was fueled by something deeper, more primal. What are you? Gorath growled, his forearms flexing as he circled warily. Marcus didn't answer. He was done talking, done proving himself, done playing by their rules. When Gorath attacked again, it was with the desperation of a predator facing something it didn't understand. All four arms struck in a coordinated assault that had torn apart countless opponents. Marcus flowed through the attacks like smoke. But now, instead of just evading, he struck back with devastating force. His fist connected with Gorath's thorax, and the sound of cracking chitin echoed through the arena. His knee drove into a joint, buckling one of the Drenathi's legs. An elbow strike to the mandibles sent venom spraying across the sand. The crowd watched in horrified fascination. This wasn't the clinical dismantling they'd seen before. This was savage, brutal, and utterly dominant. Lord Vexthor leaned forward on his throne, his serpentine coils tightening. "Impossible," he hissed. "The humans' biometrics show physical capabilities beyond their species' limits." His advisor, a spindly Nexari telepath, trembled. "My lord, I sense rage. Pure, undiluted rage. It's amplifying his physical abilities far beyond normal parameters." On the arena floor, Marcus had Gorath in a submission hold. The Drenathi's four arms flailed uselessly as the human's grip tightened around his throat. With a final surge of strength, Marcus lifted the 12-foot alien overhead and slammed him into the ground with enough force to create a shockwave. Gorath didn't get up. The medical teams hesitated at the edge of the arena, afraid to approach. Marcus stood over his fallen opponent, blood dripping from his knuckles, his eyes scanning the crowd with predatory focus. "Who's next?" His voice carried across the silent arena. Lord Vexthor's scales shifted to an agitated orange. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. The human was meant to be entertainment, not a conqueror. "Send in the Crimson Guard," he ordered. Gasps and protests erupted from the crowd. The Crimson Guard were elite warriors, each one capable of defeating multiple champions. Sending them against a single opponent was unprecedented. 5 warriors emerged from different gates: a Kravaxian Blade Master, a Drenathi Berserker, 2 Grax Crushers, and a Xerxian Psi Warrior. They formed a circle around Marcus, their combined presence making the air itself feel heavy with menace. "This is absurd," shouted Senator Thax from the diplomatic box. 5 against 1 breaks all tradition." Lord Vexthor silenced him with a glare. "The human has proven himself beyond tradition." Marcus stood calmly in the center of the circle, his breathing steady despite the exhaustion he must have felt. Blood ran down his arms, mixing with sweat and alien ichor. He looked like something from humanity's ancient myths, a warrior god made flesh. The Crimson Guard attacked as one. What followed would be spoken of in whispers for generations. Marcus fought like a man possessed, like every battle humans had ever fought was flowing through his veins. He used the Guard's numbers against them, forcing them to interfere with each other's attacks. When the Blade Master's energy sword came too close, Marcus redirected it into the Berserker's armor. When the Grax Crushers charged, he maneuvered them into the Psi Warrior's mental assault. But it wasn't just tactics. The human moved with impossible speed, struck with devastating power, and absorbed punishment that should have killed him 3 times over. When the Berserker's claws raked across his back, Marcus barely flinched. When the Psi Warrior tried to crush his mind, Marcus's rage burned through the mental attack like fire through paper. One by one, the Crimson Guard fell. The Blade Master, his sword arm shattered. The Berserker, unconscious in a pool of his own blood. The Crushers, their stone-like bodies cracked and broken. The Psi Warrior, clutching his head and screaming as his own powers turned against him. Marcus stood alone amid the carnage, his body a canvas of wounds that would have killed any other species. Yet he remained upright, defiant, his eyes burning with undiminished fury. The arena was tomb silent. 100,000 aliens stared at something they couldn't comprehend. Lord Vexthor rose from his throne, his massive form casting a shadow across the sand. "Enough," his voice boomed. This is not possible. What manner of creature are you?" Marcus looked up at the arena master, blood dripping from a cut above his eye. When he spoke, his voice carried to every corner of the arena. "I am human. We are not your prey. We are not your entertainment. We are the children of a death world, forged in the fires of survival. We fought saber-toothed tigers with stone spears. We crossed frozen oceans in wooden boats. We split the atom and walked on our moon. And when you threaten what we love, when you mock what we are. He paused, his gaze sweeping across the terrified crowd. We become something you cannot comprehend. Lord Vexthor's scales flickered through a spectrum of colors. Confusion, fear, and finally, grudging respect. The human has proven noteworthy. But there is one final test. The largest gate in the arena began to grind open. The crowd, finally finding their voices, erupted in chaos. They knew what was coming. From the darkness emerged a creature that made all previous opponents look like children's toys. The apex predator of Xerxes Prime, a bioengineered monstrosity created for one purpose: to be unbeatable. It stood 30 feet tall, its body a nightmare fusion of the galaxy's deadliest species. Multiple limbs, each ending in different weapons. Armor plating that could withstand plasma cannons. A neural network that could predict and counter any fighting style. This is madness. Thax shouted. The apex has never been released. It will kill everyone. Lord Vexthor ignored him. Human, you have impressed us. But now you face the ultimate challenge. Survive this, and Earth will have a seat on the Galactic Council. Fail, and your species will serve forever. Marcus looked at the approaching monster, its footsteps shaking the arena. Any sane being would have surrendered, begged for mercy. Instead, Marcus smiled. You still don't understand, he said quietly. This is what humans do best. The apex charge, a living mountain of death. Marcus didn't retreat. Instead, he ran forward to meet it, a tiny figure against an impossible foe. As they collided, as the arena shook with the impact, something awakened in the watching aliens. For the first time, they began to truly understand what they had invited into their federation. Humans didn't just fight to survive. They fought to win. And sometimes, in their darkest moments, they became something more than flesh and blood. They became the embodiment of defiance itself. Human ascendant. The collision between Marcus and the apex predator sent shockwaves through the arena, cracking the reinforced floor and sending spectators scrambling backward. The monster's massive limb, tipped with a blade of living crystal, slammed into the ground where Marcus had been a microsecond before. The human rolled between the creature's legs, coming up behind it and driving his fist into what appeared to be a cluster of sensory organs. The apex roared, a sound that combined the hunting cries of a dozen predator species and whirled with impossible speed for something its size. Marcus was already moving, his battered body somehow maintaining its inhuman performance. Blood streamed from dozens of wounds, yet he fought as if pain were merely a distant concept. In the stands, alien spectators clutched each other in terror and fascination. They had come to witness an execution. Instead, they were watching the birth of a legend. Analyzing combat patterns, the apex's synthetic voice boomed. Human designated Marcus Chen. Threat level: extreme. Adjusting tactics. The monster's form began to shift, armor plates sliding and reconfiguring. Extra limbs emerged from its torso, each equipped with a different weapon. Its neural network was adapting, learning from every move Marcus made. But humans had faced adaptation before. They'd survived ice ages, plagues, and their own nuclear weapons. Marcus drew upon that legacy now, reaching deep into the well of human potential. When the apex attacked again, a coordinated assault using all 12 of its limbs, Marcus did something unprecedented. He caught one of the creature's arm blades between his palms, twisted, and snapped it off at the joint. The arena gasped collectively. The apex's weapons were supposed to be unbreakable. Marcus hefted the severed blade, its edge still humming with energy. Thanks for the upgrade. The battle transformed. Armed now with a weapon capable of piercing the apex's armor, Marcus went on the offensive. He moved like humanity itself. Adaptable, relentless, finding weakness where none should exist. Each strike of the alien blade carved chunks from the monster's armor. Each dodge brought Marcus closer to vital systems. The Apex's movements became increasingly erratic as damage accumulated. Impossible. Lord Vexthor's voice cracked. The Apex is perfect. It cannot be defeated. Senator Cathax watched with growing awe. No, my lord. Nothing is perfect. The humans, they're showing us what we forgot. The will to overcome impossible odds. The fight reached its crescendo when Marcus, bleeding from a dozen new wounds, managed to scale the Apex's back. The monster thrashed wildly, trying to dislodge him, but the human clung on with inhuman determination. With a roar that seemed to come from the depths of humanity's collective soul, Marcus drove the energy blade deep into the base of the Apex's neural core. The monster's movements slowed, stuttered, then stopped entirely. It stood frozen for a moment before toppling forward with earth-shaking finality. Marcus rode the falling giant down, leaping clear at the last moment. He landed in a crouch, then slowly stood, the energy blade still gripped in his hand. The silence in the arena was absolute. Then from somewhere in the upper stands came a single voice. The human one. It started as a whisper, spreading like wildfire through the crowd. The human won. The human defeated the Apex. The human won. The chant grew into a roar that shook the crystalline architecture. Aliens who had come to mock now cheered. Those who had laughed now stared in reverent awe. Lord Vexthor descended from his throne, his massive serpentine form crossing the arena floor. He stopped before Marcus, towering over the bloodied human warrior. In 10,000 years of games, the arena master said, his voice carrying to every corner, no species has ever defeated the Apex. You have done the impossible. Marcus met his gaze unflinchingly. For humans, impossible is just another word for challenge. Lord Vexthor's scales shifted to deep blue, the color of highest respect among his people. Earth has earned more than a seat on the council. Your species will be granted full membership in the Federation, with all rights and privileges. He paused. And I formally request that humans consider providing combat instructors for our military academies. The crowd erupted again, but Marcus held up a hand. Despite his injuries, despite his exhaustion, his voice was strong and clear. Earth accepts your offer of membership. But understand this, we are not your warriors. We are not your weapons. We are your equals. And we will help defend this federation, not because you demand it, but because that's what humans do. We protect. We persevere. We prevail. As medical teams finally approached, keeping a respectful distance, Marcus turned to address the arena one final time. Remember this day, not as the day a human won your games, but as the day you learned what humanity represents. We are not the strongest, the fastest, or the toughest, but we have something no other species possesses, the absolute refusal to accept defeat. Push us, and we push back harder. Corner us, and we become more dangerous. Threaten what we love, and we will move the very stars to protect it. He looked directly at the recording drones broadcasting across the galaxy. To my fellow humans watching this, our place among the stars is secured. Not through subservience, but through strength. Not through surrender, but through sacrifice. We enter this galactic community as equals, and we will help shape its future. As Marcus finally allowed the medical team to approach, as the arena continued to thunder with alien cheers, Lord Vexthor made one final pronouncement. Let it be known across all systems, humanity has arrived, and the galaxy will never be the same. In the following months, everything changed. Human instructors began teaching at military academies across the Federation. Our scientists shared technologies that revolutionized medicine and engineering. Our diplomats negotiated treaties that brought lasting peace to warring systems. But more than that, humanity brought something else to the galactic community. Hope. The hope that any obstacle could be overcome, any challenge met, any impossible dream achieved. The recording of Marcus Chen's victory became the most watched broadcast in Galactic history. Military strategists studied his techniques. Scientists tried to understand how rage could amplify physical capabilities. Philosophers debated what it meant for the nature of limitation itself. And on 100 worlds, in 1,000 languages, children played at being the human, facing impossible odds with unwavering determination. Marcus himself returned to Earth a hero, but he always maintained that any human could have done what he did. "I didn't win because I was special," he said in countless interviews. "I won because I'm human, and that's special enough." Years later, when asked about the secret to humanity's success in the arena and beyond, Lord Vexthor would simply gesture to a hologram on his wall, an image of a bloodied, battered human standing victorious over the fallen apex. "They believe," he would say. "When every logical reason says they should surrender, they believe they can win." And somehow, that belief becomes reality. The age of human expansion had begun, not through conquest, but through example, not through force, but through indomitable will. And across the galaxy, one truth became universally acknowledged. Never, ever underestimate a human. For in their moments of greatest trial, they become something more than mortal. They become unstoppable. Humanity had taken its place among the stars, not as servants or subjects, but as the teachers of a simple truth. The power of the spirit can overcome any physical limitation. And in the grand arena of Xerxes Prime, they still tell the tale of the day a single human changed the destiny of a galaxy. The day they laughed at a human warrior. The day they learned never to laugh again.